Welcome everyone, another book review, another Starlight publication. This is a book company out of West Midlands, UK. Starlight is pretty much identical to the Finbar. Apparently works with them and probably is part of Finbar. I'm not sure what is happening with Finbar recently. Seems like the owner there has retired and Starlight even was around before this, so there's some connection there. And of course, you can tell by their books look just like Finbar booklets. They're called saddle bound, which is when you staple a book in the center and fold it over into what is basically a booklet. Now, and I'm not a big fan of the more pages it has, the better it is. That just really doesn't hold water. But there is, there is a distinction, between having a 200-page book where only 20 pages are of value and have something as short as this book, which again is about 12 pages. So, this book by David Hume is, Cahoom, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, is Native American Magic. Kadanda. I'm not sure what Kadanda is, and of course, he's using the term Native American in a very gross manner. He's not naming any really tribes. I don't know if the Kahundas are a tribe. Kahanda. Was it Kahanda? Wakanda. I don't know if he's specifying that or not. He doesn't really specify where this came from or what tribe. Native American, there are probably thousands of tribes. We hear of people named the Comanches, Apaches, etc., which apparently was not their real name. Those are all westernized names on top of it, which is pretty fascinating to think of. But that's nothing new, just like there's no such Egyptian word as pyramid. That's Greek. He does talk about the Seminole Indians and how they were great storytellers, but doesn't say this actually comes from them. Matter of fact, the vagueness of this and calling it North American Indians is really a great misnomer, and it makes me wonder about his research in general. He also states that Native American magic was based in the elements and asking the spirits of Earth, air, fire, and water for help, and that it dealt with the colors and the compass setting, northwest and south, etc. He does go into very short explanations of the medicine wheel, dream catchers, smudge sticks, love charms, etc. But these are about a paragraph, and I guess it gives you a little bit of information of what somebody's labeling things too grossly here, and it's a very skewed way of looking at American Indian magic. When I got this book, I was hoping it'd be more detailed into a particular tribe. He talks about how they particularly use the 4 seasons in their magic, and your magic beads, and how beads were used as a primary magic tool by these Native American tribes, and they used different colored beads and formed little circles they stood in. Again, I don't know the validity of this because I really haven't studied that. I was hoping this book would tell me a little more. There are beads for different colors. So you have beads, of course, you form a little circle with for the darker spirits, or black beads for black spirits, which involve destruction, and blue for sorrow, and white for serenity magic, and green, or I should say success magic of red spirits, which is success. So it talks about that, and it gives you basic little rituals. You, as I said, you use these beads and you call upon that particular spirit. So one of the problems is very repetitive, as it is with most Finbar Starlight books, is that they're giving you this, you're just calling upon a different spirit, and you're going through this very typical little ritual. Again, these are all easy to do. This is why people tend to like these books. The books are relatively inexpensive, anywhere from $15 under. They're short, they're to the point. But again, results, as I am very well aware with, because I've sold Finbar books for about 20 years, is that I never had any people come back to me and say how well they worked. People loved them because they were relatively inexpensive. They could read them in about 10 or 15 minutes, and they could do rituals without much preparation. You didn't need much. You're going to need beads with this book if you want to do these beads. There's so many different Indian gods, so many different Indian tribes. This is a very primitive, very low-level system, giving you some basic evocations. If you enjoy Native American kind of tradition that's offered here, you may get something out of this. But again, this is a real cookbook. There's very little extra knowledge here or greater explanations. This is, again, standardly calling on a spirit. And, if you're not a person who has trained in being centered and used the occult gym, the books I've written, and are in a particular empowered state, these are nothing more than words that are used more as a psychic crutch. You're just basically using these as a type of affirmation when you're doing these rituals. You're not really doing things that are calling spirits in at a very strong level. So like most of these books, they're interesting at a basic level. If you're an intermediate student, oddly enough, you probably get more out of these because you're going to be doing things to empower your rituals to a higher level. Beginners, it's nothing more than a visualization, affirmation type text. And to advanced practitioners, most likely you're not going to get much out of these because it's just too base. There's nothing special or secret about it. Most of these authors don't seem to come up with anything very new or special. They're just taking very simple stuff and putting them in a few pages that, literally you could write Finbar books in general, and these Starlight books that have taken over or work with them. You could literally, as an author, write these in a couple of hours. They're very, very simple. Then they're easily printed in little booklet form. And because there's such a short number of pages here, your production costs are very little. So when you sell them for anywhere from $10 to $15, you've made quite a nice profit. But these are, to a large extent, there's nothing new. It's really kindergarten magic. And this book in particular, I wouldn't really recommend at all unless you're a scholar of American Indian traditions, which is very difficult to get any information on at all in terms of a practical nature. This is what drew me to this book, because I'm always looking for books that deal with magical nature of American Indian practices, and these are very far and few between. What few people understand is that American Indian practices, a lot of their herb law, their techniques, and their magic was passed on to all the hoodoo voodoo practitioners. So the particularly hoodoo voodoo practitioners and their herbal lore came mostly from the American Indians. After all, if you were dragged here as a slave from Haiti or the Caribbean somewhere, you certainly wouldn't know the plants of this particular country well. So you would have to go to those who knew more. And the people that were treated just as bad as the American slaves, and to some extent even worse, were the Native American Indians. So a lot apparently was passed between these two cultures because they were both highly victimized, and they both were poverty-ridden and had a certain unity because of that. Something few people understand. But this book sure doesn't go into any of that, doesn't seem to know any of that, gives you Native American tradition. What does that mean? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of tribes. This is a very curse and not recommended view of those systems.